Breaking news September 26, 2024. Jeffrey A. Abrams of Principles Integrity publicly apologized for lying throughout his Integrity Commissioner report that recommended a 90-day pay sanction against Councillor Lisa Robinson. Tune in.
And at this point, Mr. Mayor, I do want to apologize and mention the errata which was distributed to Council over the weekend and appears as an amendment to the agenda this evening. I discovered that the version of the report that was provided by PDF was not actually our final version. In our final version, we take into consideration the councillor's comments on a preliminary findings report, and in considering her comments, we did delete references to whether the editorials she placed were paid or not. We accept that they were not paid. Our analysis and findings were not affected by the error, but I do apologize for it. Only substantive change, I believe, resulting from that was the deletion of the reference to paid editorials. And I've already apologized for the oversight in providing the incorrect version of the report. No one else can provide evidence to you that would alter the information in the report, and that's why it's not appropriate to hear delegations on the report.
Regarding your errata that you sent through that we just received today, confirming that you did make a mistake in something that you have all through this report, and that you find with some of the things that you have found me guilty of, let's say, in the report, but you said by themselves, they're not really guilty, but with the fact that it was a paid advertisement, which you were completely wrong, which is, again, riddled throughout here, you say that is how you have come to your conclusion. So if we have now concluded with the errata that none of my op-eds were paid, which I told you months ago, and you're just coming with that today, then how can we be sure that everything else that you had in here also is not a mistake?
Well, Councillor, the errata was distributed on Saturday. As I was preparing for today, I discovered the error there.
Sorry, we just received it today. Fair enough.
I circulated it to all members of council by email on Saturday, and you were included in that. The errata acknowledges that we made an error, is up front. My explanation tonight, I provided you an explanation as to how it occurred. I don't see how that explanation at all interferes with the conclusions, the text, the remarks that we've made in the report.
Well, I beg to differ that it does, because I think if you've made that kind of an error, then, you know, there could be other errors in here.
Councillor.
Mr. Mayor.
No debate.
Okay, Mr. Mayor. At the last meeting on September the 3rd, you admitted that you have a bias towards me. Okay, right. You said that you didn't want to hear anything that I had to say. Okay, that alone, and you,
Councillor,
you doing this report,
Councillor,
Mr. Mayor,
Councillor,
please give me the latitude to say what I'm going to say.
This is not the Lisa Robinson's show tonight.
This has never been the Lisa Robinson show. This has been the Yes Nodder shows where everybody has to follow your lead.
That's exactly some of your problems.
So that's my problem.
It is.
You're biased towards me,
Councillor,
and I'm calling you out on it,
Councillor,
and you're saying it's my problem.
it is your problem. I'm
my
in the
problem.
chair. I make the rules. Actually, the assembly makes the rules. I enforce the rules. You have been directed not to debate the delegate, not to use adjectives that are problematic in regards to. In regards to.
So what word can I use instead of lies tonight that would make you happy, sir?
Well,
just give me a word and I'll start using that instead. What's a word for lies?
The findings are findings of fact.
They are not findings of fact,
Yes,
because I just said that I have counted over 30 facts that are misrepresented in
Well,
this.
the Integrity Commissioner has done a thorough review of the complaint. And
if it was a thorough review, he would have known that I didn't pay for any of the ads until Saturday. He would have known that if this was a thorough investigation.
It was a small clerical error.
It's not a small clerical error when it is riddled in here.
Councillor, we're not going to continue this. You've been once excused from participation. So I'm warning you, excuse me, I'm not going to allow this tonight. This is not going to be the Lisa Robinson show tonight.
Episode 10, The Lisa Robinson Show. Coming soon.
So
You could
please-
stop saying this because now it's just turning into the Mayor Ash show.
Please.
How's that?
Please continue.
The Mayor Ash show?
Okay, that's number one warning.
You said it to
That
me,
is your number one warning.
but you said it to me,
I'm
so I
gonna
can't
give
say
you
it back?
Second time, and then you're going to be excluded for the rest of the meeting. That's your warning. Please continue.
Okay, but you said the
Please
Lisa
continue.
Robinson show, but I can't say the Mayor Ash show.
Please continue.
No, I just want to see how come you can say it, but I can't, because this is another
Please
bias.
continue.
This is another bias, Mr. Mayor.
Please continue.
This is another bias.
Your second and final warning, you will be excluded for participating in the rest of the meeting unless you continue with your questions in accordance with our procedural bylaws. That's your second and final warning.
Well, since I can't ask my questions, why don't I just get on with my little speech of what I have to say, and then I can be silent for the rest of the meeting. How's
Okay.
that? Does that
Well,
work for you?
If we've completed the questions, we can move to debate.
Well, because since I can't ask any questions, I mean, this has nothing to do with your livelihood, only my livelihood, and it's full of lies.
The person
So-
who's responsible for the sanctions is the person that contravened the act and the code of conduct in 10 instances. So take some responsibility for your actions. Councillor Robinson, you have the floor. You have 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just to something that a couple of things that my colleagues have said. Brenner has said that he's been the victim, but yet he's the one that said he could stick a knife in my back, slowly twist it, and I would never know till he's getting ready to pull it out. There's also been sexual harassment where he tells me that he's willing to have an affair with somebody as long as
Councillor,
they're
Mayor, point of
Counselor,
personal privilege.
younger than his
Counselor,
wife,
Counselor,
younger than his daughter.
Counselor, Counselor. No, Counselor, I'm bringing you
Mayor?
to order. You have made serious allegations. You have a mechanism.
Mr. Mayor, point of personal privilege.
Please let,
And the integrity commission said it was retaliatory.
right. So you've have a process to go through that. You've leveled ideas of bribery and corruption, no background. You've labeled sexual harassment, no background. Well-
And have you done anything about it?
Actually, the CIO.
I brought it to the CAO. I brought it to the solicitor. I
Right.
brought it to the clerk, and nobody has moved forward on it, Mr. Mayor. You even are aware of it, and you've never once asked to have a conversation with me about this. You've even seen a video in Councillor Brenner's own words saying that he would like to sharpen his sword and decapitate you, calling you a bad name.
I just figured out how I can sharpen my sword and decapitate the motherfucker.
Counselor, I
But
don't,
that's okay. So nobody takes
Counselor.
him to the integrity commissioner for that?
Counselor, I don't tape my colleagues when their phone conversations.
It has no idea. It has nothing to do if you're taping them or not. The fact is that it was said.
Anyway, you've had ample.
So
opportunity-
criminal charges
Counselor.
should be brought
Counselor,
forward.
go,
Point
Yes.
of personal
go to
privilege.
the police.
Okay, so then I'll just finish my speech.
No,
As,
Counselor, 1 sec. Point of personal privilege, Counselor Brenner.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. These allegations were forwarded to the Integrity Commissioner by the respondent. The respondent is very aware that there was a response and over 100-page documentation contrary to the respondent's allegations, and that was determined by the Integrity Commissioner following the appropriate process that we have and including all the evidence that was submitted.
Thank you.
Regarding any voice comments or voice recordings that have been manipulated, I'll leave it at that.
Thank you, Counselor.
no recordings have ever been manipulated.
Counselor, you don't have the floor.
I'm still in the middle of my speech.
There's
This
a points of
privilege is
personal,
over.
there's,
It's over.
Counselor Cook, you have a point of personal privilege.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I find this so egregious to be hearing continued allegations leveled with no substance that serves only to undermine every woman who's ever been victimized by sexual harassment.
Counselor, I don't think that's a point of privilege, personal privilege.
She's leveling charges in the middle of her speech with no substantiation, and it's an effrontery to every woman who's ever been harmed. Why are we allowing this to be continued in our chambers? Where is
So
this
you said
relevant
that
to the
was not-
report?
Counselor,
Where is this in the report? Can we get back to the
yes.
report?
I'm going to start the clock again for you, Counselor. I'm not going to allow your allegations that should be investigated or already have been investigated, and there's been a finding. So,
Finding by a biased integrity commissioner.
well, Counselor, I don't think that's helpful for your argument.
Oh, that's
so-
okay. You're taking away my pay for 90 days today, so what do you want me to say to that? I mean, you won't even let me speak to,
Counselor,
you won't even let me ask
The
questions.
person responsible for the pay sanction is the person that actually breached the code on
Okay.
10 different occasions. Currently, you have other complaints against you as well. So,
How would you know the other
because I've
complaints against me?
them.
Oh, more.
Yeah, more.
So you've used,
You know
you've
that
used more of the taxpayers' resources.
you're aware of all your members of your colleagues have submitted a complaint. You're aware of that already.
I am aware that you used
Counselor, get
your role as a mayor and your abuse of power to ask Mark Ginto to ask other staff members of the city to go through all of my social media, all of my videos,
Counselor, you want to,
all of my Facebook posts to try and find anything that you possibly could to throw at me with your 75 report, which is what this is. And
Counselor,
then you admit that you're biased towards
Counselor,
me.
this is your time. So
Yeah, so this is my time. Also, if the integrity commissioner had done their job and actually did a thorough investigation, my comments about the experts and volunteers, I don't think he went and saw all of their resumes, which I have been privy to, and I can tell you they are not experts. So again, that's just mistruths coming from our CAO.
Counselor,
Not to mention, no, this is my time, you said, and I'm just calling out that the inconsistencies in the report, because there's a lot of them, and if a proper investigation was done, we would know that. We would also see a lot of other things in the report that were nothing but lies. But I'm going to get on to my speech, or else you're going to cut me off. So I stand here before you today to address the Integrity Commissioner's report, a document that is riddled with inaccuracies and falsehoods, which I like to call lies. What we have here is not an objective assessment, but a report manufactured by a council leader who has openly admitted his bias against me.
So
Mr. Mayor, you're being very biased towards me.
I am being biased.
Well,
I've lived this.
that is not fair.
I am being biased.
And by an integrity commissioner whose paycheck is signed by the city itself. How can we impartially, when the very office tasked with the overseeing of conduct is beholden by the body that it serves? The truth is that the head of council, in his efforts to undermine my work and discredit me, has allowed his personal bias to color these proceedings. His words and actions have made it abundantly clear that I am not being judged fairly. Instead, I am being targeted by individuals who are afraid of the truth and unwilling to stand for the people of the city. Let's not forget that the Integrity Commissioner is appointed and paid by the city, creating a conflict of interest. And how can we in good conscience accept their findings as legitimate when they are clearly influenced by those who hold the purse strings? And now, based on these distorted claims, they are recommending a 90-day sanction against me. To say that I find that this decision is completely disgusting and would be an understatement. This is nothing more than an attempt to silence dissent and to punish those who dare to speak the truth. The individuals responsible for this are not fit to lead. That means all of you sitting here at council. They have demonstrated time and time again that they prioritize political gain over the integrity and justice. It is clear that the interests of the people are not being served by this council as it stands today. And as much as all of you say that work is not getting done in the city of Pickering, I have been out there working my butt off. So I don't know how the hell you guys aren't getting your work done. In light of this, I would like that we reconsider this heavy-handed recommendation. Instead of 90-day sanction, maybe a more constructive approach would maybe be a little bit better, like, maybe volunteer hours. Maybe you guys could do something like that, because this is just showing to each and every one of your characters, taking money away from a single mom with no other source of income coming in, who has to pay for a child, pay a mortgage, and pay a car. But you guys don't seem to care about that because you guys, I have seen many times, having gifts and benefits and not reporting them. I've even reported that to the Integrity Commissioner, and the Integrity Commissioner has just swept it under the rug. Why? Because he doesn't want to bring any more, draw any more attention to the city of Pickering. And those are his words, the man sitting right there in the delegation booth. If anybody watched my video last night, go to Lisa Robinson on YouTube, and you will see through my videos exactly what is happening in the city of Pickering. There is corruption. There is collusion.
Order.
And you can see it today. And that's all you guys are doing. You guys have just become yes nodders. And you guys have said to me, as soon as I became a city councillor, you know what? Keep your head down. Don't bring any attention to anything else, so you will get elected again in the next election. And that's all you guys ever care about. You guys don't care about the people. You guys are spending their taxpayers' money like it's going out of style, like you guys are drunken sailors. That's exactly what you're doing. And to spend $200,000 instead of giving me back $15,000 plus of my pay, everyone here, the people of Pickering are going to see what kind of person you guys actually are. And I don't need to say anything else because my 5 minutes are up and you're going to silence me. Unless, of course, I would like to make a motion that I could speak for another 5 minutes.
Well, first of all, Councillor, our procedural bylaw is 5 minutes. That's the rules. The chair can extend it.
Yes, so I'm asking for an extension of time so I can keep speaking.
Councillor, the rules say 5 minutes and your time is up. So we thank you for your comment.
Okay, I'd like to challenge the chair. I'd like to speak for another 5 minutes.
Is there a seconder for the challenge? No, thank you, Councillor. So as we move towards a vote on this matter, and Councillor Robinson will not be allowed to vote because she's declared a conflict. You know, the other councillors picked out the things that I highlighted too, because the recommendations, the councillor's conduct represents a breach of the provisions of the code and the continued pattern of behavior for which he is previously sanctioned. It goes on to talk this.
Point of personal privilege.
Your privilege?
My privilege is you keep on going back to these reports that are complete lies.
Let me have my.
Okay, you know
let
what?
me have my 5 minutes.
Just to point of personal privilege. If we could just do.
No.
Point of personal privilege. If we do.
Councillor,
Point of personal privilege.
Floor.
Okay.
Councillor.
Point of personal privilege.
Your privilege is what?
My privilege is if we could just go back a minute and if we could actually maybe pull up one of my motions that say that I wanted to remove the universal change room and show me where it says that I want to remove the universal change room.
Oh, okay, and I have one more. Actually, I have two more, but I have one more to read to you tonight, and because we're on this topic. So this one has to do with the universal change room. So the city of Pickering, they have a female change room for members, they have a male change room for members, and then they have a universal room. And within this universal room, anybody can use it, but also members are also using it. So just a few short weeks ago, there were some people there for a swim meet, and a couple of young girls went into the universal change room. Who followed them in there? An older male member who has his own change room, but yet no, he decided he was going to start using that washroom.
Yeah. Bingo.
Yeah. So a lot of parents in Pickering have brought this to my attention. They're very upset, just like you are. So I've decided to write a motion for this one as well. So whereas Chestnut Hill Recreation Complex has 3 designated change rooms, consisting of a female members only change room, a male members only change room, and a co-ed universal change room used by members with children under the age of 18 and their guests. And whereas the co-ed universal change room gives an opportunity for predators to be alone with vulnerable children. And whereas children have a right to feel and be safe when using these vulnerable spaces. And whereas it is critical that the corporation of the city of Pickering minimize the risk of predators preying on children who are not accompanied by an adult within the recreation complex change rooms. And whereas it should be the choice of the individual or family to choose which change room they feel most safe using. Now therefore be it resolved that the Council of the Corporation of the City of Pickering create a new policy within the Chestnut Hill Recreation Complex that permits a female the choice to use a female-only change room. It permits, number 2, a male the choice to use a male-only change room. 3, the universal change room to be inclusive to all genders and or families, and this policy to come into full force and effect immediately. And lastly, a copy of this motion to be sent to the Region of Durham, the Durham Municipalities AMR.
Yeah. Send it this way.
I will do everything I can.
This will show
Counselor.
that the last report that I
Counselor.
was sanctioned
I have.
was all based on a
Counselor.
lie as well.
Okay.
But so
Counselor.
why won't you want to do that? Prove me wrong.
Counselor.
I'm begging you, please prove me wrong, Mr. Mayor.
Counselor,
Please.
I have the floor. You
Just
do not.
prove me wrong.
Counselor, you.
And I will not speak.
The Integrity Commissioner's recommendation says that he is recommending a 90-day suspension of pay. And if he had the legislative authority similar to the Education Act, he would recommend a suspension of the counselor as well.
And that there is also bias.
Counselor,
Why even bring that
Counselor,
into account when he has no...
Counselor, I have the floor. You do not.
I know, but when you're speaking...
Counselor, your time is up. Her steadfast refusal to recognize any of her conduct as contraventions of the code or to acknowledge the hurt and harm she inflicts on others through her actions, and they continue tonight, they continue even as we speak now, demonstrates an arrogant self-righteousness which we have rarely encountered in our municipal political leaders. And they
Point of personal privilege.
They represent 60.
Point of personal privilege, please.
Counselor.
I do not have righteous or arrogance. I just believe in the
Counselor,
truth.
you don't have
And
the-
there is no truth in what...
Her conduct raises real concerns about impacts on those individuals within already marginalized group of society. The Integrity Commissioner's report was thorough. The actions of the counselor, I think, are offensive. Her continued YouTube videos and the slurring of hurling of slurs against her colleagues is not appropriate.
Point of personal privilege.
Counselor, you don't.
Mr. Mayor, you sit here and you're allowed to sit here and you're allowed to sit here calling them names, both online.
What cases you bring in here?
I'm sorry. I need a moment of personal privilege. While you're talking, I have the mayor telling me you want to know what a conspiracy or right-wing theory is. They're talking about you like that up here right now. I've got mumbles here, and I have the mayor talking about how poorly this is.
We don't need the conspiracy theorists to be parroted by you. Jesus.
Counselor, you don't have the floor.
I asked for a moment of personal privilege.
Counselor, you don't have the floor.
I asked for a moment of personal
No,
privilege.
they're not recognized. We're going to have to call the vote. Recorded vote's been requested by Counselor Butt.
Point of personal privilege, please.
We've called the roll, but there's no interruptions during the roll call.
Councillor Butt.
Yes.
Councillor Cook.
Yes.
Councillor Nagy.
Yes.
Councillor Pickles.
Yes.
Councillor Brenner.
Yes.
Mayor Ash.
Yes.
That's carried unanimously.
Thank you. We're going to take a 5-minute recess.